Iraqi fighter planes today landed in Iran. Tehran radio says that one of the planes crashed and the pilots from the other planes were being questioned. Iranian fighter planes scrambled after the Iraqi pilots made contact with ground control, saying they were in trouble and requesting permission to land. Pentagon sources later told cable news network that so far 24 Iraqi planes have arrived in Iran. The United States intends to ask Iran to prevent their return to Iraq. German experts who worked at an Iraqi chemical gas plant say that Iraq is not capable of placing chemical warheads on Scud missiles. The experts told the German weekly Der Spiegel that while Iraq is not capable of launching a chemical missile attack against Israel, Baghdad can launch missiles equipped with chemical warheads at shorter distances. Meanwhile, the German daily Frankfurt Allgemeine claims that Patriot missiles possessed by Germany are not equipped to intercept Scud missiles. The paper bases its reports on assessments of German military experts. German Foreign Minister Hans-Dietrich Genscher has offered to supply Israel with Patriot missiles to bolster its anti-missile defenses. Over now to reporter David Ze'ev. Just to reassure our listeners here in Israel and to inform those overseas, a siren has been sounded across Israel, and a siren that indicates that residents of Israel should go into their rooms, put their gas masks on, those sealed rooms with gas masks on. We reassure you, we are trying to find out the updated information, and we will, as soon as we have that updated information, we'll bring them to you. In the meantime, gas masks, go into the sealed rooms. Once in a room, make sure all openings are sealed. Place wet rags under the doors. The Army spokesman says not to force a resistant child to wear his or her mask. We are looking into the situation. Go into those sealed rooms, put the gas masks on, and as soon as we have the information, we will update you. Thank you, David. The German government will decide in a few days' time whether to send Patriot missiles to Israel. This was reported by the government spokesman in Bonn. The German Defense Ministry is considering the provision of military aid to Israel. A French weekly writes that Syria has recently acquired Scud sea missiles from North Korea and warplanes and tanks from the Soviet Union. Syria reportedly purchased military hardware with $2 billion it had received from Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states in return for joining the anti-Iraq coalition. Over 1,000 apartments were damaged in the Iraqi missile attack on Israel last night. Over 4,000 people have been evacuated from damaged buildings since the war began. Apart from one soldier, all casualties have been civilians. Summing up the casualty situation since the outbreak of the war is Israel Defense Forces Chief Medical Officer Brigadier Yehuda Danon.
All the casualties were in urban areas, and out of the 204 casualties, we have 30 children and more than 110 people that are above the age of 65. So there is no question that it is the civil population of Israel that is suffering. We have no soldiers, only one soldier was lightly wounded, and he was on a short ride in his house, and by chance he was hit. Most of the casualties are lightly wounded because of glass break, pieces of debris, air blow, and the two dead that we have, one is a direct hit on a house, and the casualty was in a shelter in that house, and the second one is a crush injury with piece of glass cutting one of the main arteries in the thorax.
Danon was interviewed by defense reporter Alan Ben-Ami. At present, 20 people are still in hospital, most of them with light injuries. The funeral of Eitan Grundplan, who was killed in last night's missile attack, will be held tomorrow around noon. He was 51 and owned a plastics factory. He was killed when his home in Ramat Gan collapsed from the Scud missile hit. His wife was injured. Miriam, a Tel Avivian whose home was severely damaged in last night's missile attack, told reporter Alan Ben-Ami just what happened to her.
There was a detonation, and all the glasses, all the windows, all the doors, everything flew around. That was it. But we felt immediately that we were not hit, and then we were happy.
You were in your sealed room at the time?
In our sealed room, which is not sealed anymore because everything is all out.
How many were you?
2. I myself and my sister. Beseda. Myself and my sister.
You seem to be taking it quite calmly for somebody who was in the middle of an explosion.
Not too much. What can I do? The rain is gone, and the rain is coming in, and all the windows are broken, and all the doors are broken. I only hope that there won't be any theft, so that I don't find tomorrow, besides the breakage, everything gone.
Will you continue to live in Tel Aviv?
I can't tell you now.
How do you feel about all that's happening, not only tonight, but what's happening and may happen again?
I'm feeling very bad about it. I'm feeling very bad about it. I'm feeling very bad about it because I don't know what can be done against it.
You don't feel that at the moment the Americans, the British are doing what can be done?
I don't see.
Would you like to see Israel taking action itself? Or do you feel that the policy of restraint is necessary?
The policy which is being taken now is okay. I'm not clever enough to know if something else should be done, but I think whatever is being done now is okay.
And we go back now to David Ze'ev. David, any update on just what's happening in this latest alert?
Remain, we are waiting for updated information from the Army spokesman to tell the listeners just exactly how it is. A confirmed report. In the meantime, all we know is that air raid sirens have sounded around the country. All residents in Israel are requested to put those gas masks on, go into the sealed rooms. Hopefully they've done that by now. We've all unfortunately become accustomed to this ritual, as it were, that's been going on now for over a week. Just do it, and we will be listening in for updated reports. Once in the room, make sure all your openings are sealed. Place the wet rags under the doors. And, of course, the Army spokesman again reminds you that if you have a resistant child, don't force him or her to wear the mask. Let him or her become accustomed to it. We all know what we've been doing over the past nights. Just to reassure you, those in Israel, we are ready to update you as soon as we have confirmed information on what's going on.
And the interception of Iraqi Scud missiles in the north last night resulted in debris falling over a large part of Haifa. Sylvia Leaf reports.
Once again, Saddam Hussein's missiles cannot differentiate between Jews and Arabs. Hundreds of shattered windows, blown-out shutters and doors, and other damage to property were reported from the Jewish and Arab sectors alike. Immediately following the explosions, the city's mayor arrived on the spot. Sheets of nylon for windows and masking tape were distributed to the residents. Land administration authorities are again estimating the extent of damage resulting from the blast in order to carry out repairs immediately. The gratitude of the city's residents toward the soldiers operating the Patriot missiles is tremendous and knows no bounds. Those involved are being showered with crates of champagne, boxes of chocolate, and bouquets of flowers by the municipality and individuals who regard them as heroes. Sylvia Leaf reporting.
Defense Minister Moshe Aaron says the Patriot battery crews are currently learning about the problems particular to shooting down Scud missiles. With this, Aaron's noted that even the most practiced use of the Patriot is not going to provide a 100% answer to the Scud. Speaking tonight on Israel television, the defense minister said he was doubtful Iraq possessed biological warfare weapons. Aaron's added it's not certain that the Iraqis have the capability of attaching a chemical warhead to the Scud missile. All damage caused by last night's Iraqi missile attack to electricity facilities have been repaired. Stormy weather had also been responsible for power failures. The Dead Sea area had no electricity all night. The Electric Corporation has appealed to the public to try to economize on electricity. This morning, strategic analyst Reserve Brigadier Aharon Lavran assessed the Iraqi missile attacks in an interview with reporter David Essig.
Look, the fact that the Patriots intercept missiles doesn't say that they can do it the best way in the world. The deficiency seems to be that they intercept the missiles a little bit too near to the defended area. And this is something which you can term as a shortcoming. On the other hand, the fact that the Patriots are intercepting it in high probability is good news. On the other hand, the fact that the warheads of the Scud missiles that are impacting in Israel are of little weight, I mean around 200 kilograms. This is, I think, the reason why it causes this little casualties and this kind of destruction that they are doing. If they were the original Scud missiles with the 1-ton warhead, it could have been much, much worse.
Is the fact that the Patriots are located so close to population centers a result of the fact that there aren't enough to go around and it's easier to protect these population centers by having them close and nearby? Or is it a technical question of trajectory and that sort of thing?
No, this is an inherent shortcoming of this missile. Their CAP, the circular error probability, was from the outset something like 2 to 3 kilometers, and once they impact in a densely populated area, they pound where they pound. You can't. You see, from the very beginning, they couldn't. These Scud missiles, which have a low accuracy, they couldn't be effective against military targets, and they are basically designed to impact large populated areas. And there, where they hit. Let's not forget that the Patriots, from the outset, were not designed to intercept missiles. They were designed to intercept aircraft, and they were modified.
Brigadier Lavran also assessed the Allied strike against Scud missile launchers in Iraq.
We have to distinguish between the fixed ones and the mobile ones. To tell you the truth, I don't understand why the fixed ones, according to what the American spokesman said, were not knocked out. Fixed ones should be knocked out whatsoever. If the case is that the fixed ones were not knocked out, it's a failure.
Could it be because of the decoys, that they put up a lot of decoys?
No. How many decoys could they have, and why won't they knock out the decoys as well? The Americans are possessing a powerful Air Force there, and they can do both. So I don't attach too much importance to the decoys. The problem is more, I think, with regard to ammunition, to more pinpoint bombings and whatever. I don't want to blame the Americans. They are doing a wonderful job, but something is raising eyebrows, and this is one of them. With regard to the mobile one, it's from the outset more difficult to deal with them, but it's also not mission impossible.
Reserve Brigadier Aaron Lavran. We have back to David Ze'ev. David, where do we stand at this point?
Well, Ruvain, just repeating around the time we went on the air about 15 minutes ago, air raid warning sirens sounded throughout Israel. We have someone waiting at the phone with the Army spokesman. It's taking several minutes until they confirm what exactly has happened. It takes a number of minutes sometimes because we want to be totally clear what has happened, what has not happened, not relying on rumors. Just remain calm. Our listeners in Israel, and I suppose those abroad also would like to remain calm at this time. It should remain calm. Are we getting a notice right now? Okay, so here it is, an updated announcement. Residents south of the Ashkelon-Hebron line. In other words, if you live in Ashkelon, if you live in Hebron, and everywhere south of there, can remove their gas masks and leave the sealed rooms. You can take off your gas masks and leave the sealed rooms. If you live in Ashkelon and Hebron and southward, the rest of the country, the rest of Israel is please asked to remain with gas masks, stay in the sealed rooms. As soon as we have updated information again, Ruvain, I'll have it for you.
Okay, we just heard that Saudi Arabia also broadcast an alert. They've apparently also come under attack. It's probably a good time to broadcast this now. Listeners have been asking us how they can hear instructions in English when the warning sirens go off. When the alert signal is given, the rising and falling sound of the siren will be broadcast on all of Kol Israel's networks. And if there's no English broadcast on the air at the time when the siren sounds, you're advised to turn your radio to the main Hebrew network, Reshet Bet, which has been combined with Galei Tzahal and is the only Hebrew station broadcasting during the emergency. It's essential you know where to find Reshet Bet on your dial, and we advise you to mark the spot on the dial so you're prepared in advance. The most common frequencies in most parts of the country are 657 and 1080. Once again, that's 657, 1080 on the AM band. In certain areas, Reshet Bet can be found at 882, 846, 1206, and 927, also on the AM band. You might have to wait while instructions are given in Hebrew and other languages, but instructions will be given in English, including the alert and the all clear. A sophisticated Israeli-manufactured device for the detection of chemicals is being used to determine whether the missiles being fired at Israel have chemical or conventional warheads. The detector is manufactured by the Elbit Company and has just been adopted by the Israel Defense Forces. Foreign armies have shown increased interest in the detector since the Gulf War broke out. You're tuned to Kol Israel, the voice of Israel, Jerusalem. And what will be the effect of the use of chemical weapons by Saddam Hussein against Israel? Defense reporter Alan Ben-Ami put the question to Brigadier Daron, as we said before, the IDF's chief medical officer.
In our view, the main threat is the chemical warfare, and we cannot allow our population to go to the shelter with the mask on the face and to put all that population into a major threat of possibility of having air gases in the air while the shelter is not in the house, and it may take 5 to 10 minutes to arrive to that shelter. So our instruction today is to stay in the cell room, and as we have seen from the 23 missiles that hit Israel, when you have a direct hit on a shelter, you may have a lot of casualties.
How serious is our chemical capability?
We have no question about the capability of producing chemical warfare. Those agents are very simple agents that were designed on the First World War, so they're about 70, 75 years old, and it's very, very simple to produce them. The main difficulty is how they will put those chemicals into the warhead of the missile. And that's the main question, but there is no question about the capability of production and the capability of producing bombs that may be launched by airplane. The question is if that kind of warhead is available for the Scud, El Hussein or El Abbas missiles.
If it is, and if Israel comes under a much more severe missile attack than it's suffered up to now in missiles with chemical warheads, how much is the population and how much are the medical services going to be able to cope with such an attack?
Oh, we may cope with huge numbers, but we hope that the way that the missiles are acting today, I hope that we will not arrive to that moment that we have to cope with that kind of casualties.
If a missile falls carrying a chemical warhead, what sort of radius is going to be affected?
It's a very difficult question because we are not sure on the meteorological conditions, rain or nice weather, and the velocity of the wind. Those meteorological conditions will dictate the radius of the possible area that will be hit by chemical warfare.
And the Patriots, if they should hit a Scud missile carrying a chemical warhead, what's going to happen here to the chemicals? Will they fall to earth? Will people be infected if they're below?
We believe that in the way that it is done today, we will have an enormous dilution of the chemical agent, and practically the Patriot will abolish the possibility, once it hits the Scud or El Hussein missile, will abolish the possibility of chemical.
Okay, we've just heard that there's another air raid siren sounding now. Yes, Ruben, another air raid siren.
raid sirens are sounding once more in Israel. They sounded about 22 minutes ago. They're sounding again now. As our latest air raid siren now diminishes, we repeat, or now we should say that all those people who were told earlier they could come out of their sealed rooms, take the gas masks off, everybody please back in the sealed rooms, put the gas masks back on. In the entire Israel, back in the sealed rooms, back with your gas masks on, same instructions as before. Earlier we were told people Ashkelon, Hebron, and southward could come out. Everyone please back in. About the previous report, we only know, as far as I can tell at this point, that Scud, Iraqi missiles were launched towards Israel. Patriot anti-missile batteries have responded in Israel back towards the missiles. We don't have any more information at this time. We will update you. Repeating, a second air raid siren has sounded, the second within 23 minutes or so. As soon as we have, again, updated information, we'll have it for you. And Baghdad Radio last night carried a threat by Iraq that hitherto undisclosed weapons are to be unleashed soon against Israel. An announcer said the time has come to move from words to deeds. The broadcast also reiterated that Iraq would never withdraw from Kuwait. In other news, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Lawrence Eagleburger has left Israel. Eagleburger and other senior U.S. officials spent the week here for talks with Israeli leaders. French Prime Minister Michael Shapir spoke to Prime Minister Shapir this morning by phone. He expressed his solidarity as well as that of the French people with Israel. Prime Minister Shapir said he hoped for closer ties with France. Shapir said the French nation felt great support for Israel, and he would be happy to come on a visit to deliver this message personally to the Prime Minister. The Director General of the Italian Foreign Ministry is coming to Israel on Sunday. Kol Israel's Rome correspondent says the Italian government is stressing that the aim is not only to express solidarity with Israel, but also to persuade Israel's leaders to break the deadlock on the Palestinian issue and to agree to the convening of an international conference. Egypt's parliament has given President Mubarak decisive support for his Gulf policy. Only 3 members condemned the president for sending Egyptian soldiers to the Gulf. Australia has meanwhile decided to expel the senior Iraqi diplomat in the country. Citing security reasons, the government gave the Iraqi chargé d'affaires 72 hours to leave the country. Australian Foreign Minister Gareth Evans said the expulsion was probably related to Saad Omran's statement earlier this week that Australia could face terrorist attacks if it stepped up its fighting involvement with allied forces fighting Iraq. And how long will the Iraqi people hold out and continue to support Saddam Hussein? Labor Knesset member Shlomo Hillel, who was born in Iraq, knows the Iraqi people well. Reporter David Essing interviewed him last night when the air raid siren sounded.
The main thing, and I think this is what the Americans have to do, and I assume that they are also trying to do, is to break the whole system, to break the military machinery, and as far as someone is counting upon the fact that the population will not be ready to continue, to my mind it's too optimistic, because if I know them well and if we have seen out of the experience in the past, they can take it, they have to take it, they have no alternative, not that they like it, but probably even one has to say that in the character of the Iraqis, they are very much used to brutality, and they can brutalize others, and they are very brutalized, and I don't see the change that will come from inside. The whole business will be decided upon the possibility of the Americans and the Allies to break down the military machinery that is at his hand.
But hasn't it been an Iraqi tradition that leaders have been overthrown, dictators have been overthrown from within, from the leadership clique itself?
It is possible. It is possible that one of his generals, one of his aides, who just decide he has gone too far, and this could be done. What I assume is not very likely is that from the population itself there would be readiness to challenge his rule.
Knesset member Shlomo Hillel. 1,050 immigrants have arrived in Israel over the weekend. 13,000 immigrants have arrived this month. The New York Times reports that Pan American has refused to accept Iraqi passengers since the Gulf War began for fear of terrorist attacks. It was a Pan Am airliner that was blown up over Lockerbie in Scotland in December 1988, and all 270 people on board were killed. Before we go to return headlines, back over to David Ze'ev. David, what's the latest?
Ruvain, as we've been on the air, it has been a very active half hour. About the time that we went on, air raid sirens sounded around the country. Then about 20 or so, about 22 minutes later, as we were still on the air raid sirens sounded again. So here is the updated information. Everyone in Israel is asked to be inside his or her sealed room with the gas masks on. with the children having their gas masks or in their tents. But please don't force them in if they're unwilling to go in. Take your time, explain it to them, play with them, whatever it may be. Don't force them in or force them to put the gas masks on. But everyone around Israel is asked to go into the sealed rooms, put the gas masks on. As for the first sirens, we only know, or only can report confirmed, that missiles were launched towards Israel and that Patriot anti-missile batteries were used in response. That's all we know at this time. And you can give the announcement, Reuven, about those of us who are in Israel, what we should do until we're on the air again in 2 hours' time.
Okay, listeners once again have been asking how they can hear the instructions in English when the sirens go off. When the alert signal is given, the rising and falling sound of the siren will be broadcast on all of Kol Israel's network. If there's no English broadcast on the air when the siren sounds, tune your radio to the main Hebrew network, Reshet Bet, which has been combined with Galei Tzahal and is the only Hebrew station broadcasting during the emergency. It's essential you know where to find Reshet Bet on your dial. We advise you to mark the spot on the dial so you're prepared in advance. Now, the most common frequencies in most parts of the country are 657 and 1080 on the AM band. Just a second. Yes, David? You have something? We've just heard that you can take your masks off, but stay in the sealed rooms. That's for the entire country. We've just heard that's a confirmed report that everybody can take their masks off, get the younger children out of the plastic tents, but stay in your sealed rooms until further announcements. So here now are the stories making news in Israel at this time. The United States says it's totally destroyed Iraq's capacity to produce nuclear weapons. German experts say Iraq is not capable of launching a chemical missile attack against Israel. Syria has recently acquired Scud missiles from North Korea and other weapons from the Soviet Union. Over 1,000 apartments were damaged in last night's missile attack. The funeral of Eitan Grundlein killed in last night's missile attack will be held tomorrow. You can now go out of your sealed rooms. That's our final announcement. Everyone can go out of their sealed rooms. This is Kol Israel, broadcasting from Jerusalem.
Kol Israel, bonsoir et shalom, il est 22h30. Deux alertes successives se...